So welcome guys. Thanks for taking time out of your Saturday to come and talk vendor shop with everybody. I guess today, like the main focus is just like for us vendors, everyone here is a vendor, whether you're brand new to it or been in it for the game for a while. Things have been crazy lately. So the thing is like, what can we do to help each other out in this crazy market, right?
Mm.
And so let's just go around the room real quick here. I'll start it off just to make it easy. My name is Roger Waldman. I've been vendoring Pokemon since January, and I started up the business Taze Kruu. I also sell on eBay, so that's how I get like my liquidity going. The stuff that I buy at the shops, I try not to let it stagnate, so I constantly have liquidity of money to buy other things by selling on eBay. And the name of that store is Taze Kruu also. But for me, like a lot of you guys, we were talking at the shows, one of the problems that we've been having is, well, actually, let me go to Angel next.
No worries. Appreciate it, Roger. Appreciate it. Okay, so everybody, just hello, fellas. My name is Angel Soto. I've been in this business for about like a little over 2 years now. I'm the owner of Moto Soto's Curious Collectibles out of Wichita, Kansas. I'm just a small shop based out of my house, right? This is like my little office right here. I initially got into this because my son collected. I had bought him some Pokemon cards many, many, many years ago, and just all of a sudden they were in a binder, and I looked them up, and I was like, oh my God, look at all this. I was like, this is actually worth money. Oh my God, like I couldn't believe it, right? So, and that was a few years back. So we started just collecting, and then I was just like, I ran into the problem. I was like, I was buying so much and collecting so much that I was like, what do I do with all this extra stuff?
Yeah.
And then my wife's like, hey, yeah, just form a business, So I looked at my son, at the time he was 13, and I was like, hey, you want to have a business? He's like, sure. And there we go.
Nice.
So I've been selling Pokemon and One Piece and Funko Pops and everything like that. Like I said, like the last 2 years, 2.5 years.
Sweet. Thanks, Angel. Justin.
Yes, sir.
Let's do you next, buddy.
Hey. Yeah. Hey, I'm Justin. I own Lunchbox Collectibles. I got it back in probably about a year ago, close to a year now. I actually have a very similar story. I collected when I was a kid and found my binder when my son got back into it and realized how much money I had. And I originally was just going to start collecting and just get back into the hobby for what it was. And then when I started realizing the potential of what what I've done, like as far as my careers go, and then what the hobby was doing, I saw like an opportunity to like take it a little more seriously and pursue it for an income. So I enjoy both sides of that coin. And so vending, I'm pretty new. I've only done one show, but I do a lot of online sales.
Gotcha.
And like local stuff, and I try to be like in the community here in Denver, try to be like pretty seen there. So but yeah, I'm very, very new to vending, but did well at the show I met Roger at. I was pretty happy with that, and it went well. So
nice.
Yeah. Roger's a good guy. He's a good guy.
yeah.
I try, fellas. All right, Mark.
Yeah, nice little deal right there at the end. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about that. What's up, Mark?
So, hey, how's it going? Yeah, Mark, I'm probably odd man out. I don't collect Pokemon. I tried to collect and from a vending perspective, kind of collect it and learn it. It's well beyond me. That ship has sailed. I can't. There's no way. My two oldest boys, they're grown now, but they collected when they were younger and that kind of thing. But I actually, when I was younger, collected comics. That's how I started.
Right.
Several Marvel comics specifically. And then in like 2019, 2020, kind of during the COVID thing, I kind of just started looking at, and I also did Funkos. I started looking at sports cards. I had a few from back in the day, but not enough to say that I collected them. But then during the COVID, I mean, you didn't have nothing to do but sit there and watch breaks, get in on a couple breaks, and then I started actually hitting a couple cards that were worth some money. So I was like, wow, let me go ahead and see what I can do. And then in 2021, I created iKARDS, and I actually started hosting shows in the Denver area. 4 or 5 shows a year I'd host, and so I just started knowing a lot of guys. I haven't hosted a show now in probably about 2 years, um, but I still go to shows and I sell, like I said, mostly sports cards, a couple Marvel cards. Every once in a while I'll sell a couple comics, but I end up having seller's remorse, so I really I try not to do that. I try to keep it to football and basketball,
Right.
selling those cards.
Gotcha.
My PC is pretty. I mean, I got Funkos in my PC, comics in my PC.
Right.
A couple sports teams. So I mean, I pretty much. I don't know how guys can do this. I know guys that do, but I don't know how guys do this to eat. Like it's. I get a little bit of money and I end up flipping it right back into the hobby. Like there's
Agreed.
Right.
It's a self-sustaining hobby, but it's definitely not. It's not paying the mortgage. Nowhere near.
Right.
For me.
I think that's one of the things I wanted to touch on is like, right now we have this like subculture of cardboard assets, and
Right.
instead of people being able to afford like a $500,000 house or an $80,000 vehicle, they're going, well, I really see like this huge influence from, especially from like online and stuff. People are wanting to pick up these cardboard assets and kind of wanting to make a future out of them, which is really interesting to me. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, I think every decade or every generation something changes. It's interesting that certain people will have enough foresight, to understand where the market might be, in 10 to 20 years. It's just having, I don't know, the willpower to like pick something up now and sit on it for that long, as an asset. Because I mean, everything, it seems to me, very cyclical, right? I mean, at one point, Pokemon was really, really popular and it dropped off. And now it's popular again, baseball cards, football cards, same thing. Funko initially was very, very big, and then all of a sudden it fell off a little bit. Now it's kind of like plateaued again. So, I mean, I think, a lot of people are trying to catch the wave in one aspect.
Yeah.
And then to see where they go with it, I don't know. I mean, as far as holding it as like a really good hard-term, long-term asset, I personally don't see the feasibility in it. I collect other things, but for now, for me, it's been profitable enough, to turn around and flip these things, but nothing that I'm doing very, very long-term. I mean, I have my own personal collections, my own PCs, that I have of like all my master sets, and I'm going to let those sit for as long as possible. I mean, I don't need it right now, but hopefully, we'll see 5-10 years from now if it really continues to grow or if it falls off a little bit and comes back around.
Yeah. How you guys feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I know some guys that do it.
Yeah.
You got to really put in the hours.
True.
Like, if you're going to do it, like it's definitely not a get rich quick.
No.
Scheme.
Agreed.
That's for sure.
You see there's like that documentary on Netflix, and you see, some stuff here and there where somebody found a, whatever year one Pokemon pack underneath that
Right.
shelf or something like. But the chances of that
True.
Yeah.
Far and few in between.
Pokemon though, because Pokemon seems to be actually more stable than sports, honestly.
Yeah. They don't get injured or
especially modern.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot more factors that go into sports. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, the draft, they're getting transferred. Of course, injuries. This guy, he beats his wife. He gets into a car accident.
Right.
They have a great year. They go to the Super Bowl. Yeah, whatever. There's a lot more variables within sports cards than there are with Pokemon cards or One Piece cards or any other TCG-based type of thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Thanks, guys. How do you guys handle like I know for me it's hard because when we're traveling away, like I got 2 kids. So when we're traveling away, right, we got the babysitter, we got to think about recoup time, after you come back, the travel there, the expenses right off the top, all this stuff, right? And so for like a lot of newer vendors, it's difficult thinking about, well, if I'm going to go to Las Vegas, I'm going to spend $500 on a hotel, $600 on the tables. You got all
Yeah.
this upfront costs, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And then like, so how do you guys feel about that? And how do you handle like the fatigue that comes along with it?
Well, just me personally, I know I'm chiming in. I think I've been doing it for a little bit of time. Um, and you know what? I mean, I'm going to sound like an ass. I try to plan as best as I can
Yeah.
so that I'm not upside down in the show, right? Like when I went down to OKC, right? As an example, here it's close. It's like 3 hours away from where I'm at. I take into account the gas, the lodging, the food, what it's going to cost me, what the table costs are, and then of course I'm trying to figure out my time and if it's going to be profitable enough for me. If I see that like, oh, the last time I went to the show, I only made $5,000, but it cost me $4,000 to go down there. Is it really worth it for me to pocket $1,000? You know what I
Right.
mean? So the profitability definitely has to be there when I do, I guess, all of my estimates to figure out if it's something that I want to continue with. But as far as like, do I really got to worry about it?
Yeah.
I'm a little older than everybody. So, I don't have to worry about it as much. I don't have my youngest is going to be 16 or he's 16. And he usually comes with me. So I don't have to worry about the babysitter. I don't have to worry about necessarily, but the only thing I do see is like school, getting them in and out of school. Like I got to make sure that everything is covered on that end. Otherwise, we're good. Obviously Justin's just starting with the shows. So, I mean, his experience is going to be different. And Mark, how long have you been doing it? Have you done any major shows over the past few years?
Yeah, I mean, usually my shows are in the Denver metro area or
Okay.
Springs is the ones I attend, but
Mm-hmm.
I have attended Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
set up at a Dallas show. I went there
Right.
once just to look and I set up once.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is a situation of it, fortunately for me, I actually have family in Dallas,
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
but still, I mean, you're still looking at airfare, you're still looking at food, you're still looking
Right.
at the car, all
Yeah.
of that. And what I started really realizing then is you have to have inventory that can even support that.
Right.
That's true. Very
I mean,
true.
you may or may not sell it, but to give yourself even a fighting chance, you have to have
Right.
you have to
Yep.
have inventory that supports that. Like in theory, if I sold these, I could recoup all of my stuff, and a lot of my stuff is not high dollar. I mean, high dollar. My highest card, sports card I've sold is like you're looking at the $400 range.
Right.
Most of my stuff honestly is below $100.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, understood.
$30, $40, $50 cards. There's like I said, there's buddies of mine. They have in their cases. I mean, all their cards are like grails. They're all 4,000,
Yeah.
5,000. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did quite a few shows. But again, like I said, I like to do the local ones because you can recoup your money there
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%.
and sell a lot of $20, $30 cards.
Yeah. 100%. We just had one by example right here locally. It was like 120, 130 tables. Real cheap. I think it was like $90 for 2 tables for me. And you come, you set up, takes you a couple hours. And I think we were there 7 hours total, not even a full 8. I think it was like from 9 to 4 or something like that. Yeah. Like $5,000 for the day. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's so that profit margin is obviously higher because it's right here. It's up the street from my house. We just jump in the car, go, boom, there we're there. It's no airfare, no real mileage, no real food, so it's all profit basically. But going back to one of your issues is just you have to have the product.
Mm-hmm.
This is me and Roger were discussing this earlier. This is my biggest concern is getting the product in. I still don't have a brick and mortar. I don't think that I foresee myself going that route to even get a distributor or anything like that because it's just not profitable enough. That
So
in my
how do you
view.
guys get your cards? Like,
I'm fighting tooth and nail going back and forth. Whenever I'm out, I'm like, at Target, at Walmart, at GameStop, I'm like,
So
Best Buy, I
you're
order stuff.
buying boxes?
I'm buying as much as I can,
Okay.
but yeah,
Yeah.
just basically, I'm buying retail, and in some
Right.
instances, when I'm supporting local shops that are smaller, these mom and pop shops, I'm paying retail or I'm even paying market on top, just to get products so that I can have something to offer my people, my customers when I'm at one of these shows.
Okay.
Yeah, so for sealed products, I've been buying collections out, and it works pretty well. So I'm in
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the local groups here. One of the bigger ones, I'm the admin of it with another vendor actually, and
Okay.
so we see. So that's like what I've done to source things, and it's been the most
Mm-hmm.
successful for me. And so, especially when like that we had that market shift and the tariffs and everything came, and people kind of freaked out. Oh,
Yeah.
I made a lot of money because
Right.
a lot of people were like, "I'm selling, I'm selling, I'm selling." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll buy everything," and I just kind of went a little nuts. So.
And what are you
Um,
buying, Justin? If you don't mind me asking, when you're
yeah,
buying these collections, I mean, what is the percentage margin that you're buying at? If you
yeah.
see like something's going for, as an example, market $100. I know this is very, very small, but what would you be paying? Are you paying 60%, 70%, 80%? What are you paying in order to maintain your profitability margins?
Yeah, so it depends. So there's a lot of factors I kind of take into consideration. So, a booster box, that's a very liquid, very easy to
Mm-hmm.
move item. So I don't
Right.
mind paying a little bit more for that. But if it's like some, Cleaver EX collection box from
Mm-hmm.
2021 that nobody really wants because there's not a
Right.
crazy pack in it,
Yeah.
I'll still buy it, but I try to explain to the seller, hey, this is an item that's going to sit. It takes
Mm-hmm.
space. My office, I'm too embarrassed to show it to you guys right now. It's very messy, but I just have, it looks like an LGS store that just had like an order dropped off and needs to be packed away. Like
Yeah.
I have a
Boxes
lot of
everywhere.
stuff
Yeah.
all over the place, but yeah, so it just depends on exactly what it is. Booster
Gotcha.
bundles
Understood.
though, and booster boxes, they just move so fast. So as far as exact percentages, I kind of average it out. I normally just say I'll pay 75% of everything you have. And so
Gotcha.
normal, for so bigger deals, they had like really good stuff. I paid a little bit more, but that's kind of like the start I use, the
Mm-hmm.
75%. And normally if someone gets offended by that and they
Mm-hmm.
don't really want to entertain that, it's one of those guys who they have a $5,000 collection. They think they're going to sell it for 95% market and they're not going to
Yeah.
take the time to
Yeah.
go item by item. And you're
Right.
not, in my opinion, you're never going to make a deal with that person. They're just going to,
Right.
they're just going to live in like a fantasy almost of, I'm just going to get top value of all this from one guy. It's just not going to happen. So, but I do pretty well at 75.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah.
What
I'm
do you guys do with what do you guys do with the cards that your common and your base cards? Where you just if you're opening up, like if you get a collection or you open up a box, you're going to get the same card over and over again. That are
Mm-hmm.
what do you guys typically do with those cards?
I sit on them.
Yeah.
Do you really?
I do, man.
I
Yeah.
know, like with sports, normally what I do is, I just basically have my dollar box or whatever. You know what I mean? And so I'll have
Mm-hmm.
every NFL team, and then all the nonsense cards are put in there, and I'll sell them 50
Yeah.
cents a card or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah, I've noticed so I'll just get this out of the way. I'm 47 years old and I started collecting.
Youngster.
Yeah. I know
Baby,
some of you guys
Roger.
I'm probably the youngest one here, maybe. I don't know. But no. I started collecting when I was about 15
Mm.
and I have commons, uncommons from, like, I did a lot of Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh in my younger
Mm.
days. I have commons and uncommons in boxes still from that era, and a lot of those uncommons just from
Hmm.
20, 30 years ago are now like $10 cards. So
Right.
I'm not like in a super big rush, like I'm in it for the long game, but
Mm-hmm.
for me personally, like I have a local card shop I go to and I do help support them sometimes when they pick some stuff up that I'm interested in and I've known them for a long time, so they might cut me a break, maybe 85, 90% on some stuff I'm interested in. But
Mm-hmm.
95% of the stuff I buy is just me scouring the internet. Um, and
Hmm.
I definitely have like a book list of like 50 different websites I go to, and I'm, you know, obviously buying more from some of them than others,
Right.
but I definitely keep track of the market as best I can, and I pull the trigger a lot. So that's how I get all my stuff. And especially with Japanese products,
Mm.
like these boxes back here are almost all Japanese. And the tariffs were a thing for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like if as long as you're not shipping more than $800 per day, you kind of skate underneath the radar right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ordering overseas from Japan, anyways. I don't know about other countries, to be completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I carry at shows, people know me for having a lot of Japanese cards. So I'm like 50-50. I usually have like one display case that's like completely full Japanese. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people will go towards that because number one, they don't play Pokemon. They're in it for the cool artwork and they're in
Right.
it for the
Right.
collective nature of the industry. And
Mhm.
so I've really picked up like my top 100 cards. I could probably
Mm-hmm.
just rattle them off to you as far as liquidity goes. Number one card I've sold this year the most is a Chansey card. Like it's a full art Chansey. It's got all the other, there's like 6 Pokemon in the same card and she's walking through a room carrying some files. That card, I've probably sold 200 copies of that card this year alone. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's like
How much do you sell each one of those for? What are those going for?
the Japanese one anywhere between $7 and $14, and the
Okay.
English one is like 20 to 35 somewhere in there. So
Wow.
I just really keep track of that either on a piece of paper or in the old brain when it feels like working, and I go, okay, well, and I was kind of telling Justin this because we made a trade at the end of the Denver Card Show. He had like a bunch of older WotC stuff, and he wanted to get some newer modern stuff, so we made a trade. And I just wanted to kind of tell him and let him know as well that, the WotC stuff can be very profitable too when you find the right buyer. And when you do
Yeah.
find the right buyer, like networking is everything. Like get that guy's number, mark it down, and say, hey, next time I get this, would you mind if I give you a text message or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember specifically at Front Row Card Show in January when I went there, there was one gentleman that came by and he was from London, and all he wanted was my WotC stuff.
Wow.
So there's definitely like a market for, and try and keep track of those buyers or just make contact with them and keep their names down, stuff like that.
Oh, for sure. I agreed 100%. I think marketing and like networking in between individuals is definitely something to do, I'm always forever trying to like old school pass out my card, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And have people just say, I tell them all the time, text me, call me, smoke signal, whatever you want to do. Just get in touch with me somehow, and let me know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So I might be able to help you out, and I'll have people, who will definitely reach out, and they're like, hey, I'm looking for this, and I have constant customers that come back just from that. They know that I give fair prices. They know that I'll actually do the legwork for them, and try to find something that they're looking for. So they're all about it.
Yeah. How do you guys deal with trade-up challenges?
Oof. Oof. And we talked about this before. I personally just don't do it. And I just tell them like, hey, I'm just not into that. Now I haven't come across anybody. Usually it's a kid. Usually I'll throw them something, free or something cheap that they can have. But
let me rephrase the question. How do you deal with 38-year-old man
Oh,
dudes
geez.
with a beard trying to do a chin-up challenge with you?
Okay.
I tell them they're on the wrong side of the table.
I don't.
Say, if you want to do a trade-up challenge, pay for the table
That's a good one. You're on the wrong side of
and
the
be
table.
a
That's good
vendor.
one.
And
Yeah.
that's what being a vendor is essentially trade-up challenges.
If it's
And
a
so
gro-
if they want to do that, they need to rent a table. They need to pay the
Right.
fees. They need to, So, no, I didn't say that. That's how I feel, though. But I did have, at that last show, I had this lady come up and she was, I don't know, she's probably my age is my guess. And I was just like very very just no. I mean, if it's a kid, I'm obviously not gonna,
Yeah.
if it's a kid and it's something I can give them something where it's like $1 or something,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. But if they just, the problem is what they're walking up with. If it's
Yeah.
not something I think I can
Very
get rid
true.
of, then I'm
I-
going
Very
to.
true.
I
But
think
yeah, the grown adults doing it, it's just weird to me. I blame like the YouTubers though, like that do that as like a YouTube content, that people think they can just go to a show and do that.
Right.
one
Yeah.
of the issues I've come across personally is vendors' kids in particular coming by like multiple times. And if I'm not busy, okay, whatever. But when it's Saturday and we're being just like one customer after another, and time is money to us when we're at a show, right? So if the same kid's coming by over and over, I'm just like, sorry guys, like, I gave you a pack earlier, so good luck. I wish you the best, but
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I'll give them. If it's a kid, I'll give them that is actually where I get rid of some of my base cards sometimes. Is I'll just give it to the kid. If it's an adult, what I actually have said is I trade cardboard for paper.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually go to that pretty frequently. Like if it's a grown man that's like, hey, you want to do the trade challenge? I'm like, yeah, if you got a couple Jacksons, I can get you a card in here.
Got you. Cardboard for paper. I like that.
That's funny. Yeah, I like that a lot.
how are you guys feeling about the fact that it's getting harder and harder to get tables that I don't know, it's like I find myself I'm trying to do two different shows and I want to flip-flop between them, and just this next month Denver Card Show happens to be corresponding with the same dates of my front row card show. So now, am I going to get relegated back to a wait list, or, it's always in the back of my mind. So how do you guys feel about that right now? The fact that tables could be $400 per table, or the fact that you might have to get relegated to a wait list?
I mean, as far as the wait list goes, I mean, supply and demand, right? Like when I said I set up at a Dallas show, is because a friend of mine has tables there. And a way to avoid that is you can get a friend of yours or somebody else to still use your tables. That's how I set up at Dallas, because the wait list for a real good show is probably going to be a month or two, depending, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
So that's one way you can do it. So if you have that situation, if you find somebody that can
Sublet your tables, so to speak.
Basically you're subletting out your tables, even if it's a situation where you got to cut them a deal. Like let's say your tables are $400, and you tell them, look, they're normally $400, but I'll do it for you for $300 or $350. You're going to still come out the pocket, but you're not going to lose your space. You're only going to come out the pocket like $50 or $100.
Yeah.
You're going to help your homeboy out, depending on what your guys' relationship is. It might come back around later in a trade or another show, or I mean, so even Denver Card Show, I've actually set up at the Denver Card Show probably about 4 times now. And I'm not on the wait list. I mean, I know John, love John Scanlon, but I just know so many people. I'm like, look, if you need to give up a table, or if you want to leave out of town, let me know. And so every time I go to the Denver Card Show, it's just because I'm taking the table of somebody else.
Gotcha.
How do you...
That's a cheat code.
Yeah, it definitely is. I know that Roger and I were trying to get in on the Dallas Collecticon, and the minute that opened up,
seconds,
it's like sold out. It was like insane. You're just like, how I don't even understand how normal vendors even get on to there.
Yeah.
If it sells out so instantly, I'm not understanding the concept of how they have it out there on the website when it becomes available, and then all of a sudden it's sold out 2 minutes later. It was crazy.
So I was on there like 10 minutes before it went on sale, and I was refreshing, and I saw it, like the page like changed a little bit, and there was like a single button. I clicked it. By the time I put my credit card information in, it was like thinking, sold out. That fast, man. That fast, literally. Yeah.
The biggest thing is because of that supply and demand. When there's so many vendors that want to get in or traveling or whatever, the biggest thing that I noticed that I guess directly would impact me that I look at is it causes the price of the tables to just skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was for a lot of shows I was used to paying anywhere from 60 to 150, maybe $200 a table.
Yeah.
But like two and a quarter, 250 and up is like standard. And so now I'm really like, it makes me look at it from a budgeting standpoint. Like, am I going to pay, because I usually get at least 2, sometimes 3 tables. So now I'm looking at like, am I going to pay $700 to $1,000 for tables? Like, this is nuts.
I don't think
I feel
you
your
can.
pain.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, my thought process behind it is like, and I've told my wife this too, is like, if I'm going to pay $400 for one table, I'm going with one table, but I'm going to like mid-max that table. Like, this fits right here. This is how we're doing it, like ahead of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get as much as I can out of it. But what's hot and what's not, guys?
Oh Jesus.
Pokemon is hot, I'm telling you.
Hell yeah, Pokemon for
dealers,
sure.
You guys are just, I go to a sports card show and Pokemon dealers are everywhere.
That's the craziness, man.
Right I
agree with you 100%.
You guys are killing the game right now.
Yeah.
100%, I agree with you. 100%. Yeah, I showed up when we did the OKC show, Roger and I. Like, I showed up, and when that was my first show there at OKC with gas card shows. And, I was emailing Mitch back and forth, and I was like, well, hey, do you guys have Pokemon vendors? And he's like, yeah, we got a couple. And that's how he told me, right? And I'm like, all right, cool. And I get there, and it's like 75% Pokemon. Yeah. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Yo, it was insane. And I was expecting more sports cards and then maybe 25% being Pokemon. Nah, like the opposite way around.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy about that, Angel, also, is that at the same time we're at this show that's 70% Pokemon, there's 2 other shows, one in Dallas and one state away from us that were even, like, those shows were packed to the gills.
Yeah.
So it's like...
There's so much that John with Denver Card Shows, I think he has now a TCG show to kind of pressure off of the sports card show. He's creating a whole different show that's primarily like for all the TCG and all of that. I don't know if that's going to help, but I'm just like, and now I'm thinking like, well, look, if no one there is going to be sports, maybe I will go to that show.
You want to get it on the TCG show?
The show that I met Roger at, one of the shows that we were at, not met him at, but the most recent was the All C show, and it was all Pokemon. And the reason why I got in, I was like, you know what? There's only like 2 other sports guys there. So I actually went and I actually did pretty well. But
and that's the thing, because now that you're the only one who's there, or just a couple of you, you're not competing against 50 other Pokemon vendors selling the exact same thing, And at the beginning of the shows, what am I doing? I'm like, hey, I tell my son, hey, stay here. Let me walk around and see like what people are selling for to make sure that our prices are good, that we're not like, and they always are. I mean, when we did that OKC show, Roger, I had one of the other vendors that was way bigger than we both together are, coming up trying to buy all my products. Pulling out a big wad of money, flashing it like he's special. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah.
Was it 504?
No, it wasn't 504. He was a decent dude.
Yeah.
He was a decent dude. I can't remember their names. It was a group of 3 of the dudes.
Okay.
But they had a ton of product, but he just saw my prices. Like, as an example, the prismatic ETBs, I was selling them for $100. Everybody else had them like 125, 150.
Yeah.
So he came up and he was like, yo, well, let me buy them all out from you in cash. No tax, for $80 a piece. And I'm like, so you could turn around and sell them for 125, 150?
Yeah.
Like, where's my profit margin? I paid 65 for each one. You know what I mean? Like, so, but yeah, that's definitely a thing. That's definitely a thing. Hey, gentlemen, hold on 1 second. Continue.
Yes.
I have to get up 1 second and check something out.
No worries.
I'll be right back.
No worries, man.
Thank you.
How do you guys feel about when that happens to you? Like, it's obvious there's a lot of rip and shipping stuff going on and all this stuff online as well nowadays. How do you guys feel about if someone comes up and they're like, hey, I'll offer you 82% on blah blah blah. You guys gonna do that, or are you gonna probably be like, nah, I'm gonna hold off for at least 90-95%?
It really depends on the situation because I had that happen a lot. I don't know if you got to come to my table at the last show, but I had a lot of sealed with me, and I actually brought way too much because like I said, it was my first one, so I didn't know what I needed there, and I probably could have filled 3 tables with everything I brought, and I only have one. So at the next one, I'm definitely getting 2. Um, so it kind of depends on, for me, a few things. Like, are they going to take my absolute best items and they're trying to just get deals on that? Well, of course, I'm not going to mark that way down. But are they going to take a mix of things? I had 2 Whatnot guys come to the booth, and one I actually exchanged numbers with. We've done deals since too. But he bought like a good spread of everything. He bought Silver Tempest, and he bought some Fusion, and he bought a few Evolving Skies, but he also bought I want to say it was some Temporal Force. He bought a nice mix. He didn't just try to wipe me out of just the best stuff. And I didn't mind giving him a little bit of a discount. I don't remember. I want to say it was like 86 or 87%. I'm not 100% sure.
Gotcha,
so,
man.
but yeah, shout out to him. His name's Tyler.
Gotcha.
He was awesome though. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah. So it depends on what they want and the way they approach it. Because I think at this point, everyone knows, like, this market it's fascinating to watch. I think it's hard to navigate sometimes, but it's incredible to watch it like play out, and just like how crazy and in demand this stuff is. And like, people are like, oh, Pokemon's going to print to demand, and I don't know how they're going to. Like, it's just insane.
Gotcha. Hey, Mark, how did the sorry, Justin, but
you're good.
Yeah. How does I noticed that you have a lot of like dollar boxes and maybe 10-cent boxes, $2 boxes. Like, how does that work for you, man? Is it pretty liquid, or?
You know what? I heard a lot of guys talking about it, and I thought it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. So there's a couple times I set up without it. And I would say on any given show, easy 20 to maybe 30% of my revenue comes from those cheap boxes.
Really? Interesting.
It's really crazy. It's like like I said, I usually do like 50 cents a card. But, like for baseball, because I really don't sell baseball, but I got some baseball in a collection. And of course, I go through it and make sure there's no Manals in there or something crazy. No Honus
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But, I go through and I'll say, even I just say 6 cards for $1. And you'll get some of those kids and get some of those old timer guys that are building sets. Man, they'll sit down there and they'll just boom, boom, and they'll just crank them out. And it's, $5-10 a sale. But over a 2 or 3 day show, by the it adds up. You can
for sure
get a good amount of money out of that. So it works out pretty well for me.
And I also, going along with that, is as long as you have the table space to pull that off, you're good, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's another thing. Yeah. Table space. That's definitely an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you feel about, since it's local, when you're doing like your Denver card shows, and you have all these boxes with, dollar cards or 50 cents cards or, 10 cents for 5, whatever it is, it becomes a space issue. Like, just besides the what you can put on your actual tables itself is like the weight you're carrying, you know what I mean? Like back and forth, distributed, so, is that something that you notice? Is it just like 1 or 2 boxes that you bring with you, Mark? Or is it more that you're seeing that you use?
So I have one tub that's pretty much dedicated to those types of cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's local. And I got a pickup truck, so if it's local, it doesn't matter. It's
right.
But local, like when I set up in Dallas, or if I go do something like that, like it's not worth it to bring all of that to a show like that. So that's I might have a decent amount of maybe some $10 cards just to kind of have some cheaper stuff. But if I'm going out of state, you got to bring
you gotta bring your heavy hitters. Yeah, we got you.
Because you're already in it so much.
Yeah,
you're
for
sure
sure.
$200 worth of shit. Like, it's just not gonna.
Yeah. 100%.
So Mark has to get going in about 10 minutes. I'd like to just open it up now. If anyone has any questions, like for any of it, like just general stuff.
Anybody got some cheap product to buy? Anybody selling collections right now? Can I pick up some product from everybody?
I sell it to you cheap, 100.
Yeah, no, right?
102%.
Yeah.
Hey, let me talk to you about those $100 prismatic ETBs you got though. That's a great deal.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Speaking of which, let me reach back. Let me product this
Oh
out right
my
here. I
gosh.
got this
Shameless
ETB going
plug.
$100.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, I know, right? It was crazy because I was telling Roger earlier, when I'm supporting like the local guys, I paid, market price for that. And it's just, I'll pay the market. So I paid them $100 plus tax, and I'm going to still sell it for $100. So I'm going to lose money on it, but it's just so that I can have product, because right now that's my biggest concern is getting product in at a fair price, whether that's going to be market, MSRP, whatever I'm paying, is just to try to get a fair price. Here in Wichita, I don't, it's such a small town. I don't have, the amount of people like Denver, you know what I'm saying? That, you could be, you could have forums of people, selling all their collections off and everything. I don't get that here. You know what I mean? We're like what, a fifth of your size, a quarter of your size at that. So the market just isn't here. And I would have to travel still 3 hours away to like Kansas City, OKC, some other place.
Question for you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So with the Pokemon, so I've noticed, so when I go to, like when I've gone to Dallas,
Yes, sir.
I can get local, like, their local teams, Dallas Cowboys, Mavericks, I can get that stuff like really cheap because everybody out there has it. And then of course I come here, and I can get some Denver stuff because there are not people clamoring for it.
Right.
Right.
They are here. So in that instance, it's beneficial to travel if you're doing the sports cars things. So with Pokemon, it seems that really wouldn't make a difference, would it?
No, not at all. Not in my experience.
I actually think that it can, because so here we have the vending machines, and there's a lot of product that comes from those machines.
Yeah.
And so, and the reason I know that it affects it is because some of the guys I work with, one of my biggest accounts I work with is in Florida. And wherever he's at, they don't have machines there. And so a lot of his orders with me are almost exclusively all like vending machine stuff here, that those like higher ticket items that out there are worth a lot more. And so when I don't mess with the machines, I tried at the beginning and I very quickly got tired of it. But when I buy collections out, a lot of times it's just those guys that run around, they go to the machines and the stores. And so I get a lot of that stuff. And then it goes, and then it goes out to him. So I definitely think that markets can be different in different areas of the country, just depending 100%. On what they sell. Yeah.
100%.
The only thing I've noticed with Pokemon cards in general is if I go to OKC, for instance, next time I'm only bringing English cards. Because I notice if I go to the West Coast or Vegas or some of the bigger cities, not in the central United States, the Japanese moves really well. And I think it just has a lot to do with the type of collectors, or they're not even a little bit interested to know where Pokemon came from. That it's just like a different mentality. It's not good or bad. It's just different, right? So, yeah.
I have a question for you guys, actually.
Yes, sir.
So, when you guys do shows and you have your product out, have you guys ever, so I see the norm is everyone prices everything. Do you guys ever not price things and just leave them out? So when I went, I didn't price anything. And the reason I didn't is I wanted people to engage with me so I could talk to them, feel them out, see what they're looking for, things like that. And it seemed to do fine, but I've only done one show, so I don't know. Maybe I shot myself in the foot. Do you guys have?
The reason why I price everything is to save time. For me, it's like
There it is.
It's like
that makes that. I guess that makes sense.
The only time I don't price something, Justin, is if I got like a Dragonite V PSA 10, and they're gonna haggle with the crap out of me for it. It's like anything over $500. You're better off not pricing it because they're just gonna do the stupid. I'm gonna look up market and blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you tell them. Like I just priced it last night or whatever. They're going to look it up. So
back and forth, actually, and I talked to guys about this. So I actually, for the most part, I pretty much price everything, but I put the price on the back. So they still have to engage with me, but I do that kind of actually for myself, because after you check stuff, like you got 5 cases of stuff out, and sometimes it's just hard to manage. But also another guy told me that if you price and you put the price on the front, although it may save time or something and you don't necessarily engage, if you have 1 or 2 cards that maybe you didn't update and it's just priced crazy, like, maybe it's comping at 150, but you got a price for 250, and they know that, they're going to assume that all your stuff is just
very true.
Outrageous.
That's a point to contend with. I think for me, I have everything priced. All right, like in my binders or anything that I have out. As a matter of fact, everything I have is. I don't know if you guys can see that. You see that barcode on the back of the sleeve?
Yeah.
So everything I have is completely barcoded. It's inventoried. I don't got to worry about like, oh, when they've picked up 20 different cards, this one was 5, that one was 3. Where'd you get that one from? Or, because I don't price the actual, like the sticker on the card in the back or anything like that.
You can update the barcode?
Yeah, you could update the barcode in your system. So I use Square. Yeah. So in the system, I can just look that up. I can look up, it's this, Pokemon card XYZ, look it up. And if it's going for a different price, I can change it automatically in the system so it can reflect that. Now, I know that, like, for me, if it's a big difference, if we're talking, the card shot up $20, I'm going to make that price adjustment, put it in there, right, and price it, because I actually have a price sticker that has like my little, logo, my name on it, and it's got the price sticker. So everything looks neat. Everything for me has to be like very organized and very.
So you have a scanner?
Yeah.
You have a scanner?
Oh yeah, man! I got this machine. I got a cash register.
Let me chime in here real quick. Angel's the only vendor I've ever talked to out of every show I've been to who actually all his stuff is inventoried. It's all barcoded.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It takes time. Don't get me wrong. It takes time, but like for me, in the long run, I think it saves me a little bit of time, right? I'm not guessing on anything. Square will send me a report. Of course, I'm losing 3% to Square. Whoop-de-doo. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. The cost of business, but, I'll get a daily report, like all my number of sales, how many, what was selling, was it Pokemon, was it One Piece, was it Funko, which brand of it, was it more Marvel, was it DC? So I have all that information so I can know what to find and what to, replace. Plus it tells me, oh, you're out of stock. You know what I'm saying? You ran out of this, buy that. You know what I mean? So I get all those things. And this is all from the free Square. I don't even pay for all the updated stuff in Square to like use all their extra features that they have. So this is just the free stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass to like sit here and photograph each thing and make up the barcodes, because all that costs money, right? Like I had to go out and buy a specific laser printer and fucking, you got to buy the labels, and it takes time to put them all on there. But what I have noticed is that I have a lot of customers that will come and they'll be like, damn, your stuff is very neat, very organized. And they know just by that looking like that I take care of my product. You know what I'm saying? Sure. You're not going to see it. It's not going to be all dinged up. Awesome. It looks, I try to look as professional like a store as I would, as I'm trying to be, you know what I'm saying? Right. So that everyone gets that vibe, we went back, you asked about the pricing, and I said, like, my stuff is, it's all priced. It does change. It does fluctuate from time to time. And a lot of times if something has come down, even if it's gone up, and if I have it priced less, all of a sudden, let's say if there was a $50 card, but now all of a sudden it's going for $75, they'll come by and they'll be like, why is this $50? And I'll be like, oh, it must have gone up. You get it for $50, and I'll just sell it to them. You know what I'm saying? But in the reverse, if it was $50 and all of a sudden it's down to $25 and he's looking it up and he shows me, oh, TCG is $25, I'll give him to it $25. Like, I have no problem doing that. I don't have the time to update on a daily basis or on a weekly basis that it comes out. About once a month, I'm updating all my prices, especially when I'm getting a lot of inventory in. That's when I'll try to update everything as much as possible.
How do you guys feel about when you're doing like recently sold on eBay, which is, in my opinion, the number one spot to look for what the actual market is?
Mm-hmm.
And someone comes up to you and goes, well, on TCG, it's going for $50. And I go, well, recently sold on eBay is 90 plus shipping.
Yeah.
You know, like,
You know, I'm gonna have to bow out real quick, but
all right,
let me know for the next show. I got a meeting I got to go to.
sure, man. I mean, we
Hey,
can
handle
end
your
it.
business.
We can end it
Great meeting
end
you
it
guys. I'll
right
see you on
there
the next
unless you
one.
guys want to keep going or
I'm
yeah.
good, brother. I have
Okay.
time, so whatever
Okay.
you guys want to do.
Thank you,
All
Mark.
right, thank you guys.
Thank you,
Mark,
Bye.
pleasure
Mark.
meeting you,
Take
man. Take
care,
care,
buddy.
brother.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Take care, man.
Yeah, so I just find that yeah, I knew everyone was gonna get along. I knew you guys.
Ah, yeah, man. You a bunch of good guys. A bunch of good guys, man.
Uh, so yeah, last show, 2 shows ago at Denver Card Show, somebody came up trying to buy a Japanese Iono from me. I had it marked at 90, and I showed
Mhm.
him more than 3 recent comps of that day or the day before of it selling for 90 plus shipping or 100 plus shipping.
Right.
And he's just TCG. Well, it's recently sold $50 near mint.
Yeah. Oh, near mint. Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, a lot of
And
times people they miss that.
I'm just like, well, I posted a short about that, and
Mm.
I got a lot of opinions on it. And I'm just like, well, I mean, you kind of have to see both sides of the coin on there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just go, well, this guy's got TCG. That's not the final. That's not
Oh, no.
final, you know?
No. Yeah.
So
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah. So it's kind of like, what do you do when a deal's not meant to be? It's just not meant to be.
You know what? And for me personally, again, I think we came across this point like, we're not in this business to eat. We're not in this business to like, buy houses from it. We're not gonna, be millionaires from this type of thing. It's just fun to engage in. It's great to
Yeah.
use, as a form of, yes, a side hustle, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? At least it is for me.
Mhm.
When it comes down to it, when we look at comps, and I'm looking at like price charting, I'm looking at TCG, we're looking at, eBay, and we're looking at, and then the prices are all over the place.
Yeah.
And the guy is just adamant about trying to get something way cheaper for whatever reason, because one site out of 3 or 4 that we look at,
I know.
I just tell them, no.
Yeah. I know you
As
got
simple as that. It's just like, hey, sorry.
Yeah,
We
you're
just
gonna have
couldn't
to
come to
stay
an agreement.
firm on it, right?
Yeah.
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 It kind of depends on what the item is too. So like
Mhm.
Pokemon Center ETBs don't sell on TCG Player all that often. So
Right.
if you comp them, I was gonna pull some up. I don't mess with it right now, but so you can look on there though, and they'll be like 30% higher than they are on eBay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I look at like how many items have sold.
Yeah.
So if someone showed me something on TCG Player, but there's 16 sales and the item is 2 years old, I don't really
Yeah.
consider that. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything to me, and
Right.
Yeah.
vice versa. Yeah.
Right.
So I just think it kind of depends on what's there.
And we live in a very unusual market because let's face it, when we go to like the mall, for instance,
Mhm.
and you see you want to buy a watch, you don't go up to the gal behind the showcase and go, well, you have it stickered for this, and then pull up eBay and go, you know, what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
have to. I would just want to shout out to everyone that comes to our tables. We're very pleased and happy that
Oh, yeah,
you're going
for
to do
sure,
business with
definitely.
us. But the bottom line is that we have our expenses and we have the market of the cards, and sometimes they don't line up. And if we can't sell it to you for what you're asking, then it's just not meant to be.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just not meant to be. Period.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we can't come to an agreement on price, then it's just, sadly, sorry,
Yeah.
just keep it moving. Keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
What's the
I'm sure somebody.
What's the favorite show you guys have been to?
Oof. I do like the one down in Dallas, man. The Collecticons. I like them. They're a little. It's a little bit of a different vibe. It's a little bit of a mix.
Yeah.
I'm about to do another gas card show up in Kansas City here, the 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
So, I'll let you know. I'll definitely have
for
to get
sure.
back with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I like me and Mitch, the one from gas card shows, we get along. So, he's real easygoing, easy to get the stuff, and I'm always doing it so far in advance. I get like that super early bird pricing.
Yeah.
So, for a couple of tables, $200-$300 is not a big thing.
Right.
It works out for us, and he's real flexible with certain things. So that I like. We've been to other certain ones where they're very, very rigid.
Yeah.
And like, and you're just like, oh my God, have some flexibility. We're all people here.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, man. Mine's front row.
Oh yeah, I
sure.
tried to look in the front row, man, and everything. I even emailed them, and everything was completely sold out throughout the middle of the year. And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's nuts, dude.
And I didn't see anything for like the ending of the year, the second half, as of yet. So, but yeah, I mean, I would love to get into that one of these days for sure and check it out. I know that you said it's like very pristine, the way they have everything done.
Yeah.
And I dig that, you know what I'm saying? That's like right up my alley for everything to look a certain way and have a certain vibe to it, certain feel.
I know in January when we did our first front row, we had the availability to buy all the upcoming shows.
Oh, wow.
And so I basically had the opportunity to buy San Diego, the next Vegas, San Diego's a week after, and then one other. And I didn't have the capital to pull the trigger on all those shows at the same time because I was just starting out. And so now that I'm going back, I almost bet that maybe I'll be able to buy tables for the next Vegas, which will be like 6-8 months later, or who knows how long. But there won't be the availability to buy yada, 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 yada all in a row.
Right.
So kind of hosed. We'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, right.
Are you guys able to negotiate like cheaper tables if you buy multiple tables?
I don't think so.
I talked to I think his name's John, the guy who does them for the show we went to.
Yeah.
Roger? His name's John, right?
Yeah, John Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was vending with a friend of mine, and so this next show we're getting 4 tables, and I asked him, I was like, "Are you going to make us a deal?" Because he was going to move us. We had picked our spot, and then he was going to move us, and I said, "Well, we're getting so many tables. If you're going to move us, could we get like a little bit of a discount or something?" He said, "Yeah, we could talk about that." And then I owe him a phone call, but I just didn't know if that was normal or not. I figured. I guess it's my sales experience in me. I figure I might as well ask, but I didn't know if that's typical.
What's the worst they can tell you, right? No.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd rather just hear no.
Exactly.
Not have asked.
That's so true, man. I've even been tossing around the idea of doing my own show because I want to do this full time. This is what I want to do. Right. I want to be in this industry, and so I'm looking into buildings around the area I live in because this is a hot market right here, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I'm looking into it. I don't know if it's ever going to happen or not, but anyways, I'm kind of digressing.
Yeah, I mean that's like me down here, right? Like trying to find out. If I've looked at a lot of commercial spaces over here. It's just
maybe we should do it
not
together.
As big here. Yeah, man. I mean, actually, believe it or not, one of my Funko friends that I've known him for a while, that he's done a lot of shows down here. He lives here in Wichita. His business partner is in Denver, and they actually have a shop in Denver. So that's how he gets all of his inventory. So he'll drive up every once in a while or have them all ship it down. Yeah. And then he'll be able to go around down here and sell his Funkos. And so that's another thing, though, with this being like a cyclical business, I don't foresee Pokemon, being so in demand, in 5 years from now. Maybe it might dip off a little bit and then eventually come back around. So how would you combat that type of thing? You know what I mean? Like, are we supposed to how are you going to diversify? At that point, do you branch out into other products, into other board games or collectibles or something else to offset your risk that you're taking if it's a specific brand only?
For a brick and mortar or for a show?
For a brick and mortar specifically. For a brick and mortar specifically.
So it's very similar. Like I used to own a brick and mortar here in Loveland, Colorado. It's all about liquidity. So you got to go after what's selling. And if it's not, then don't invest in it because it's going to sit. It's going to take up space. It's like if you got, and you have to take into account with brick and mortar, the other people in the area who are already doing it better than you are.
Yeah.
because you're the new guy on the block. If you open a brick and mortar 2 miles down the road from a guy that has $3 million in liquidity on comic books, you should
Yeah.
not be selling comic books because that guy will sell. That
Yeah.
guy will sell at cost just to put you out of business. It's
Oh,
nothing.
yeah.
It's nothing to him, right?
100%. 100%.
So you got to take that into account too. Like when I opened up, I knew there was already a store or two in the area who were doing really well with Magic. So I focused Yu-Gi-Oh, I focused Pokemon, I focused stuff they weren't doing. And,
Right.
and as soon as I started like going down that road where, well, maybe I'll pick up a few comic books, like my profit went down the toilet immediately.
Ah, see.
Because, you're going from selling something that you're selling already into Amazon's marketplace. That's how you should look at it.
Yeah.
And unless you have like millions of dollars to compete in advertising and all that stuff, it's the same way with brick and mortar. Like stay in your lane, find out what your niche is going to be and go from there, And don't open up a block down the street from somebody that's already,